Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today we're going to talk about the humanitarian crisis that's going down in Rikers Island and the crazy living conditions that they're going through over there in the prison, or the jail, as we would say. If you guys don't know the difference between a jail and a prison, some people don't. They think they go to jail and they think that's prison. But Rikers Island is a jail, and it's one of the biggest prisons in New York, but the living conditions are horrendous. I got a video to share with you guys. I got some pictures. Craziness. What's going on with everyone? Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. I got a lot of good stuff for you guys. So, there's recently been talk about the humanitarian crisis that's going down in Rikers Island. And I'm going to share a video with you guys. So, let's get into it.
Rikers Island, New York's massive jail complex, just a few miles from Midtown Manhattan, and scene of a humanitarian crisis.
What are some words you'd use to describe
Fair use. Fair use. NBC. Just saying.
Rikers Island?
Hell. Plain and simple. Hell.
Benji Lozano recently spent 5 months in Rikers, serving the remaining
Yankees for life.
sentence
What's
from
up,
a
man?
1997 assault conviction after his recent parole from decades in state prison on a separate conviction.
What do you see in these pictures?
I see myself. I see everything that I experienced while I was at Rikers Island. I see inhumane conditions. I mean, look at that. It's ridiculous.
So let me explain
obtained by the
one
New
thing
York
to you
Post
real
last-
quick. I'll pause this right here. Listen, man. So see that picture on the left? I got a picture right here. I'll bring it up and you guys will be able to see it better. That's what it is like when you go to jail and you're in a holding cell. When you first get there, they put you in a cell and you're there all day long. The first time you get there, like right when you walk in, they put you in a cell and it's just like that. So I don't know what they're talking about, inhumane conditions. They don't leave you there for like extended periods of time. I mean, a couple days. Like, it's called bullpen therapy. If you guys don't know about it, it's called bullpen therapy. When you go to court or anything like that, your ass is going to sit in a room like this, small, tight-ass room, a cell, and they put a lot of people into one cell, and that's what they do. Every single jail that I've been in has been the same way. Nowhere to sit. Got to sit on the floor. People are all curled up in balls underneath the bench and shit like that. That's just what it is. Like, but let's get back into the video, and they might be exposing more of what's going on. But this is a normal thing if you go to jail. Really normal. This is one of the first things you will experience if you ever go to jail, especially Rikers Island. Hartford Corrections looks just like that. Same shit. Let's get back to it.
Last fall show detainees jammed in a holding area. Lozano says he spent weeks living like this.
Feces all over the wall, unoperable restrooms, toilets would not flush, the sinks would not work. It was disgusting.
And you might be surprised who agrees with him.
People were
2 weeks. One time, 2 weeks, they had the toilets not working in jail. Well, this was a prison I was in. 2 weeks. No running water. 2 weeks. Insane. Insane. Toilets didn't even flush. It was crazy. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. So, when you got to live in that type of situation, you don't have a choice. You have to do it. Like, you have to live there. So, they put you in a cell like that. You have no choice. So if you get arrested in New York City, committing crimes, whatever, your ass is going there. Shout out to all my people in New York.
Inhumane conditions.
Until last month, Vincent Schiraldi was in charge of Rikers Island.
No recreation, healthcare was not available to people because we couldn't get them to their doctor's appointments.
Violence, he says, was rampant. NBC News recently obtained more than 100 hours of surveillance video from inside Rikers. City officials don't contest the contents of the video. Scenes like this, an attempted knifing averted by an officer, and an inmate organized so-called fight night, where some detainees were forced to participate.
All right, let me tell you something about that, the fight night thing. So sometimes in places, you get really bored, right? They have rec, but you get so bored that, hey, sometimes it seems like maybe it's a good idea. Go out there and duke it out. You go in the back queue, you fight, and you come back. And they do this like every Friday night. It usually was on Friday night. People would be amped up. Usually, they would have the fights on the days that they had commissary because they would bet on people. And another reason why they would do it around commissary time, because if other people owed people money, they would fight them around that time. It was usually had something to do with money, drugs, pretty much money, drugs, commissary, you know, same difference. But it normally would happen like that. Commissary day would come along and all the fights would be popping off that day. Right in the back queue, they would set up fights and they'd bet on them. And that's just what it was.
Running the place.
The inmates run the facilities.
I wrote to all the judges and all the district attorneys and said, I cannot guarantee the safety of people that get sent here.
Schiraldi says one of the most pressing problems, a union contract that gives officers unlimited sick time. He points out that of the nearly 8,000 officers at Rikers, up to a third don't show up on any given day. For 6 years, Serena Townsend was in charge of investigating misconduct at the jail.
People were calling out sick, and then when we would go and check on them, they were not actually at home sick. They were out.
Last month, Townsend was fired by the newly appointed commissioner.
Come on, of course they were out sick. They didn't call out because they were really sick. They just didn't want to go to work. Are you crazy? What do they have? Investigation committee doing this shit? So you're telling me that they have people to go around and check to see if these people are home when they call out of work to see if they're sick? That's insane. Like, do you guys see something wrong with this picture? It's pretty crazy. If that doesn't yell scandal all over it, I don't know what does. And then they fired her. Of course they did.
After she says he instructed her to get rid of 2,000 disciplinary cases against officers within 100 days, and she refused. The city denies Townsend's claims.
I investigated every type of act of misconduct, and I have to say that a lot of what I saw in those cases are things that are happening that could have been prevented if we had staff in the jails.
Benny Bossio, the union president.
Honestly, I think a lot of it is the COVID and people not wanting to work and things like that. You know, it's craziness. I don't have all the answers, but I think cramming people in prison and jail is not the answer, you know? People don't sick time when they're sick. We used to go on vacation. Exactly, man. If you call out of work and you say, I'm sick, I'm calling out, they don't have any right to come to your house to check if you're sick. The fuck is that, man? If they have to come to check to see if you're really calling, then they have a major problem with their employees. Major problem. Like, that's not even like a small problem. That's a major problem. If they have to spy on their employees to figure out if they're really sick when they call out of work. The crazy, man. I call them security guards, man. The COs, the security guards. They're guarding people. That's all they do.
Representing officers accuses Townsend of being overzealous in her discipline of officers who are trying to do an impossible job.
We have officers that are out sick. 1,500 correction officers have been assaulted in the last year. We have officers dealing with long-term effects.
What about the 16? Hold on. Let me rephrase that. 16 people have been found dead in Rikers Island this year. The 16th person was just found dead there the other day. And they don't know what's going on. One guard was charged with murder. I'm going to bring you guys that case. Insane. Let me show you. I'll show you a picture of the guy. One of the correction officers was charged with murder, and he's in deep shit. This was in Rikers Island. Here, let me play this video, and I'll bring you that the case about the guy who murdered an inmate.
Of COVID, being sexually assaulted. So, you know, this notion that we're out on purpose is just nonsense.
Finger pointing aside, everyone agrees that Rikers is horribly broken.
And whose fault is all that?
I think it's an administrative fault. It is the fault of people who run the system and people who are in elected positions.
New York plans to close Rikers by 2027. Meantime, a City Hall spokesperson says under new corrections
2027. You guys hear that?
More than 1,000 officers are back at work, and many are now working normal hours.
2027. They ain't trying to close that shit no time soon. They're trying to milk it as much as they can. 2027. It's 2022. They got 5 more years there. Come on, give me a fucking break, man. Do you know how bad the conditions can get in 5 years? These people are going to suffer there 5 more years. It's terrible. Terrible. And they're going to leave that case. They're going to leave it open. 5 more years. They're saying it's a humanitarian crisis, but they got 5 more years to go.
Hours again.
Well,
Thanks for watching our YouTube.
Well, good for them, right? Good for them that they're on the job. All right, let me see about the correction officer who murdered an inmate. Rikers Island, jaw broken by inmate held on murder charges. That's a different one. Rikers Island inmate charged with attempted murder. Inmate suspected of breaks Rikers Island Corrections jaw. Holy shit. That was in September of last year. Rikers Island inmate charged with strangling his girlfriend in Times Square hotel was somehow assigned to special work detail despite a murder charge. Hold up. A murderer breaks correction officer's jaw after being assigned to special Rikers Island work detail. Oh shit, I got some pictures for you guys. I got a picture of the cop's jaw. This is a good one. All right, so let me get these pictures for you so I can bring you a little more context to the story. You like that video? About Bonnie and Clyde, man. That's Bonnie and Clyde. MobTube's Bonnie and Clyde. And listen, if you wonder why I put the video up and things like that, tell Gene, keep your fucking mouth shut. And we won't have a problem, Gene. Fucking rat. but we're good. Anyway, back to this subject at hand, because I got a lot of fucking good shit I'm going to be bringing you really soon here. Let's get into it, people. All right. A Rikers Island inmate is charged with strangling his girlfriend in Times Square hotel. Was assigned to work detail despite his murder charge and attacked a correction officer, breaking his jaw. Ernest Wright, among a group of 4 detainees from Anna M. Cross Center on Rikers Island, who were put on a cleaning detail at Donald Crimson Judicial Center. As they entered the hallway area about 7:15 a.m. Friday, Wright slipped. He slipped behind a correction officer and slugged him in the left side of his jaw so hard the officer dropped to one knee. I got a picture of the guy's jaw. Bam. So he creeped behind him. He creeped behind him. Bang! Caught his ass. And the 2 men struggled before the officer used pepper spray and stopped Wright. The 40-year-old officer was rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital with a broken jaw. He was he's been in pain and will need surgery, his family said. Could have been inches away from losing his life, one of his family members said. He was probably one of those guards that like to run their mouth. You know, they got those too. It's been hard for me to sleep just seeing his face replaying in my head. Wright, 29, was arrested in March for allegedly strangling Kayla Estevez so forcefully he crushed parts of her neck and chest. Prosecutors in Manhattan said at his arraignment her body was covered in bruises and he had been abusing her physically and emotionally for months before he killed her. Wright told police Estevez, 26, she did this to herself, he said. He was ordered held without bail and sent to Rikers Island. Wright previously pleaded guilty to choking his brother and was once arrested for allegedly kicking his 77-year-old father in the head. Despite his violent past, which includes 14 arrests, he was selected for Friday's sanitation detail at Rikers Island, which opened in 1992. It was the Crimson Center, which opened in 1992 and is used for parole hearings and other legal proceedings. Detainees accused of such violent crimes are rarely given this sort of assignment. I certainly wouldn't have approved someone with that kind of charge on the work detail, said Edwin Garvin, retired deputy warden who worked there for 21 years in the city corrections department. Taking him out of the housing unit area is a security risk. Benno Bronsko, president of Correctional Center Association, said Wright, after the attack, was transferred to another jail on Rikers Island and is yet to be charged for the assault. This is the environment our officers must endure day in and day out. While we are labeled as being AWOL for this crisis, Mayor de Blasio criminal negligence has caused, Blasio said before the visit Rikers Island this week. This is an old case. Let me get the date for you guys. last year, September 27th, about a year old. This dude, he crept behind the officer and jawed him. And you know, I think it's 5 years mandatory. In Connecticut, it's 5 years mandatory if you assault a correction officer. 5 years, done deal. No, there's no wiggle room. They don't give you no wiggle room. And they always like threaten you with it. Especially if you're like going to a lower prison, if you're in like a 3 or a 2. They always threaten you with, if you put your hands on an officer, you're going to go to the 4. Who gives a shit, man? I'm already in prison. Who cares? Go to the 4, the 2. Who cares? It's all the same shit. Sometimes it's kind of easier being with people who have a lot of time because they're a little more respectful than the people who are about to go home, the young kids who have time to burn. Like, they do stupid shit in there. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people go in there and pretend to be somebody else, just like the internet. It's crazy how similar the internet is to prison. This whole with people talking shit behind the screen, it's just like cell gangsters. They stay behind the cell door talking shit all day. You can't see them, you can't get to them. It's the same thing. I look at it the same way. So, I mean, people come on here, they try to reinvent themselves all different ways, and it happens every day. But some people come out here and do good things. Some people come out here and do bad things. But whatever. Their problems, not my problem. But I appreciate everyone who watches my show. I got a lot more stuff to bring you, and I'm just getting started. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. I got a really special episode for you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And don't forget, Mugshot Monday at 3 o'clock. But I got a special guest coming on tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Don't miss it. Peace, everybody. Have a great night.